Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped and the guy didn't get it? Story 1. A girl invited me around her house to show me her posters. They were all Harley Davidson motorbikes, and she said she's never ridden a Harley before. Awkward silence, and after a few other small talks, I decided to be on my way. 2 years later, I'm sitting on the bus and realize what she meant. Harley. Ridden a Harley. My name is Harley. Story 2. We were playing life, and he was the police officer. The rule is, if you spend a 10, he gets your speeding fines. So I pulled my button down, exposing my breasts, and said, "What can I do to get out of paying this?" He said, "Ma'am, I'm an officer of the law. Are you trying to prostitute yourself to me?" A couple of days of flirting and sexual innuendo later, I had to spell out that I was trying to frick him. We've been together for 6 years now. Story 3. When my boyfriend and I had just started dating, we were lying down watching a movie, and this was a small bed, and he was respectful and gave me space. I kept wiggling backward to get closer to him, and he kept inching backward too, since he thought I was trying to get comfortable, and he was in the way. He ended up sitting on a chair next to the bed. We're still together 3 years later, and it's pretty funny. He told me that when he was in the chair, he purposefully left his hand next to me in case I wanted to hold it, but I missed that sign too. He didn't get out of bed because he was uncomfortable. He thought he was taking up too much space and didn't realize I was trying to cuddle. Story 4. I once had an experience where I took the hint but still got rejected. A girl had asked me if I had lost my virginity yet. We were in high school. When I said I hadn't, she said I could practice on her whenever I wanted. Mind you, we walked home after school because we lived close. So I tried to act on this hint when we got to her house, and she said she was only joking and didn't want it to be weird with us as friends. Story 5. I asked a guy at a festival to shower with me. He didn't get it. He just repeated that there was only one free shower. And I was like, well, they are big. I'm sure it's fine. He just looked confused and told me I could go first. We became close friends since that happened about 2 years ago. And this summer I spoke to him about it, and he had no idea. I did the biggest facepalm I've ever seen. Story 6. I had this one girl I talked to all the time sit next to me in class. I had a massive crush on her, and she'd be overly touchy all the time. She'd occasionally even rest her head on my shoulder and sleep on it during class when she was tired, but then just stare into my eyes for prolonged periods and hug me. When I told her I had a crush on her, she shut me down completely and told me she only saw me as a friend. Story 7. On our first date, my current boyfriend and I went to dinner, to a bar, and eventually back to his house to watch scary movies. After hanging out for almost 8 hours at that point, practically cuddling into him the entire time we were watching movies, dropping as many hints as I could. Around 3 a.m., when we were both fighting to stay awake, I finally had to look at his dumb ass in the eye and ask, "So are you going to kiss me or not?" Though he was oblivious, it did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. Story 8. I was once modeling clothes I planned to take on vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple of outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. Finally, he opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. Story 9. A girl came to my house once and spent the night. Around the time for bed, she told me she didn't sleep with a top on or panties. So I told her that was okay. I'd sleep on the couch so she could be comfy. She called me from downstairs later that night and told me she couldn't sleep and was cold. So I figured, well, you're naked. So I gave her another blanket and went back downstairs. Story 10. We were cuddling, and I noted how nice the showers were in the bathroom at the Provincial Park. I said, "They're hot and have a lot of space for 2 people," trying to hint for him to join me for a sexy time. Without missing a beat, this man says, "Actually, you could fit like 10 people in those showers." We laughed about it hard the following weekend, and he said, "I knew what you were getting at, but my brain just wanted to answer it logically." Story 11. I had a girl go out with me after work once for dinner, have some drinks, go back to my house, and get too drunk to drive home. So I put her to bed in the spare room and never even attempted to kiss her. She left in the morning early and hated me after that. It was after work, so she followed me back to my house in her car. That was the obvious hint I missed, is what I assume now. Story 12. We were playing Don't Drink and Drive on Mario Kart. Just the 2 of us. I was thrashing him, so I gave him a chance by lying sideways across his lap for the entire race. But unfortunately, he didn't take the hint. Story 13. When I was 15, 16, this girl from school I had a massive crush on kept inviting me to her house when she was alone, wearing the most miniature tops and asking me for back massages. But unfortunately, I never got the hint. Years later, when I started going out with my now fiance, that girl's sister told my girlfriend, "Hey, my sister had such a crush on him back in school." Story 14. A girl took my hat off, started running her fingers through my hair, and asked me what did I do to get it so smooth. I told her about the new shampoo I had switched to a month before until she cut me off. Story 15. A few years ago, a cute girl at the cash register in a local supermarket, where I was a regular customer every night, said to me in a flirty way with a big smile, "Oh, I thought you were not coming today. I'm so happy to see you." Her face was shining when she said this. Still, the dumbass I was, I didn't realize this, and my response was, "But why?" As I said this, her face went red, and I could hear the glass shatter sound echoing in her. Story 16. I invited a coworker crush over at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. When he asked how he should get to my place, I told him take an Uber and that he should bring clothes for work the following day. Somehow, he arrived at my apartment thinking I had invited him to come over to help me pick out an outfit for a first date I was going on later that week. He finally realized what was happening a few minutes after he showed up when I told him I didn't want any of our friends to know about this. And it was terrifying and awesome, and it worked out. Story 17. As a guy, I had a general fear of being humiliated. I've misread some situations in the past and felt awful, so I never assume a girl is interested. I could be alone with a woman and she could walk into a room naked, and I would honestly not assume she was interested unless she specifically said, "Let's have sex." I don't know if I'd think she was serious. Story 18. I was single and my buddy was sitting at a bar when a lady pulled a chair up next to me and kept looking over. She eventually found a way to join in on our conversation and started asking me questions about what I do for work, where I went to college, etc. Every answer I gave her reply was something like, "Oh my God, that's so great. Wow, I have so much respect for people like that," etc. Like almost overly impressed at my relatively average life. We eventually left after some more beers and banter, and my friend gave me so much shit for being clueless once we got outside. It still makes me laugh that I'm such an idiot with this kind of stuff. Story 19. I had a friend in college whom I used to hang out with a lot and smoke weed at her apartment. She was always a bit flirty, but we were hanging out one day and other friends left. She asked if I wanted to see her hula hooping skills. So while I was sitting on the couch, she gets out a hula hoop and is suggestively hooping right in front of me, looking me dead in the eyes. I thought it was hot, but I didn't say anything. In retrospect, she was trying to get me turned on. It turns out she was having casual sex with several of our mutual friends, so probably best that it didn't lead anywhere, but I was clueless for sure. Story 20. A guy here, but my now wife still kids me about when we first started dating. We had already been intimate before this event, but it was still incredibly new. As in the next date after our first time, we went out for drinks and I didn't realize how much she had. We get back to my place, I put her to bed in my bed and head out to the couch. She was legit mad at me for not taking things further until she realized my point of view. It was the first time she stayed over, and I had to leave for work in the morning, so I woke her up to say goodbye, and that I would be back for lunch and told her how to lock the door if she wanted to leave before I got back.